Hello, this is Insane Monster, and this is the beginning part of What If Asta Had Jugo's Power? And yes, this is Jugo from the anime Naruto slash Boruto and all that. I don't own anything. As for the design of the thumbnail and such, you can thank my thumbnail artist for this. As for his name, it's a little hard to say it because apparently something's going on that's making it change rapidly. Apparently, someone's punking him a little bit, so whatever. And let's begin. Uh, we start off where Asta and Yuno seem to be originally from, where soon after Asta was born, he was taken by an unknown group. Once they got this group, brought Asta back to where they were doing some very shady and illegal human experimentation. They saw Asta as a perfect guinea pig for something. They knew that there was mana in the atmosphere and such, but that mana was separate from life force, and they were curious. They found a method to contain life force in its most purest essence from nature, plants and animals and such, and put it into a serum, something with a 3-point needle injector, very small, thinking that this kid would be the perfect guinea pig for this experiment. They opened up an area where they could see the skin near the neck of baby Asta and injected him. Asta began to cry out as this odd energy began to go into his system, and an odd mark formed onto his neck. They were excited that it was a success, that this magical infant could survive, then injecting themselves with this serum, they could not only survive but possibly become even stronger. So before anything, they were attacked. Asta was recovered, and the mages were fighting off, desperately attempting to save their research, though, due to a stray shot of fire magic, the entire, their entire tiny base slash laboratory blew up, killing all of the culprits that stole Asta. Once Asta was returned, they noticed the mark on him, though they weren't sure what it was. After that, the same happens where some things happen and they end up having to leave, with Asta and Yuno being left at the church in Ha's village. Asta grows up pretty normally until the time whenever Asta tries to save Yuno from the guys trying to steal his pendant. He gets beat back a lot, and then when he threatens him with his magic, he huffs and puffs, being furious. And once that happens, the mark on his neck that he grew up with, thinking it was a birthmark, begins to grow. His body his skin begins to turn darker and darker, as his hair grows out long to the mid of his back. New parts of his body began to emerge until he looked like similar to the Jugo that you see in the thumbnail in the background. The drunk stumbled a bit, freaking out, yelling, "What are you?" Asta blitzed towards him and punched him dead on into the stomach, sending him flying. He started to walk slowly as the man began to get start to get up. He already dropped the pendant whenever Asta punched him, and Yuno stepped in front of him, begging Asta to stop. Asta was about to hit Yuno but then his fist ended up punching himself in the face, thinking, no, saying out loud, no, I'm not going to hurt Yuno. He runs off into the forest near the demon skull. Yuno grabs his pendant and then hurries up back to the church to tell them that something's up with Asta. Asta begins to start punching rocks and trees, making them crumble and fall down, yelling, I am in control. This is my body and you will do as I say. Saying this as he headbutts his forehead into a rock, basically boulder, shattering it. Calming down, he begins to focus better and takes a look in a nearby puddle of water, what he looks like now. Wondering, what the hell am I? What's happening? He looks at his hand, and as he begins to calm down, the new outer parts of his body start to turn black again and recede into his arms, shoulders, and such, as the mark begins to shrink back down, going back to its original state. He's back to normal, and his shirt's destroyed now. He wanders over to the church as they were about to go looking for him, which they're relieved that Asta's okay, and they begin to talk. The father stated something that he hopes that he's wrong, but that Asta might have been used for some kind of human experiment. Or perhaps this is just something natural that he has, since he doesn't have any magic. Though there's no telling. And though they don't know much, and it seems like Asta's in control since he didn't harm Yuno and came back on his own, so they didn't think they have to worry. About a month later, while Asta's training in his new power, the same drunkard approached Asta while he was training, but this time he had some friends in some dark cloaks. He said, that's the kid. One of the men in the dark cloak said, interesting. He's excellent. They used their magic to subdue Asta, pinning him and chaining him up. Not using some magic to knock him out, they hurry up and transporting him, giving the man a little bag, a bag filled with a good bit of money, saying, this was better than I could ever imagine. So as thank you, here's extra. Late, once Asta came to, he found himself in a strange place with an odd collar on his neck. He tried to take it off, but it electrocuted him. A man said, so you're awake. I wouldn't bother trying to mess with that. The more you mess with it, the more painful it's going to be. Later on, Asta found out that he was taken to be used as entertainment for some kind of underground death battle. Asta refused to fight a large animal that was there that they were using as a beginning entertainment for him, for their audience. He hurried up and ran away, not wanting to harm it, though they didn't leave him much of a choice. The man that ran the place had a little controller, magic little controller that he used to force Asta into doing what he wanted by electrocuting him with that collar. Asta transformed and killed the animal. As the years went by, he was forced to harm not just wild magic beasts, but also people. He didn't want to harm them, and he wished every day to be saved by someone, until finally he snapped. The memories of his happy times back in Hod's village, remembering those brought him even more sadness and pain, and his mind just snapped as a defense mechanism to where he could keep his sanity. It locked away the memories of Hod's village to lessen his suffering. Asta didn't remember anything from his past anymore before the arena, only his name. As it goes by until he was about 12, the announcer stated, "Introducing the champion, the undefeated monster, Asta," as Asta steps out and already transformed, saying, "Have you destroyed to survive, destroyed to survive, destroyed to survive." But before his opponent was announced, a large explosion occurred. It was the Magic Knights. Multiple captains and such swarmed in. Legoleon, Nozel, as well as uh, Charlotte, and some of their squad members. All except Yami's Black Bulls, because they were pissing him off and he decided to leave them behind. When Yami walked up to Asta, wondering, what is this a kid? As the caller begins to shock him, as the guy who ran the place said, "Do it! Kill this man right now, boy!" When seeing what was going on, he saw in Asta's eyes, even if they did have an odd color and such, he saw sorrow and pain, suffering in them. Yami gripped his sword tightly and gave the man a death stare. He used the blunt of the sword to smack Asta in the back of the neck, not only knocking him out, but destroying the magic collar restraining him, nice and quickly, to where it wouldn't react and shock him. Once that happened, Yami took his time, yelling at him, asking him what he did. What did he do to this kid, seeing Asta transform back? He took him and beat the ever-living crap out of him, breaking both of his arms and legs and leaving him there, covered in a bit of his blood. Yami puts away his sword and picks up Asta and begins to walk out. On the way out, Legoleon and Nozel see Yami walking out with a kid in his arms, and him having splattered of blood on him. Legoleon walks up asking, "What the hell did happen? Who's this kid, and why do you have blood on you?" And he took a look behind him. He saw the still living but very much in pain and suffering man laying there. Legoleon yells at him, "Why did you do that? That wasn't necessary." Yami looks at him with fury in his eyes, barely able to contain it. Legoleon noticed this and took a look at the kid. He had burn marks. He had a circular burn mark around the entirety of his neck and scars all over his body. He said, "I see," clenching his fist. Yami said, "I'm leaving. I'm getting this kid to the dock." Yami brings him to the capital to get looked over by the doctor, where he's surprised that this kid doesn't have any magic. Yami is shocked by this and tells him about the transformation that Asta did. Asta is still knocked out by this right now, and Julius walks in. After they discuss the circumstances of Asta and such, they looked that sorry, Julius states that he's seen through the paperwork and such, and it seems as though they only know him as Asta, no family name or anything. I'm assuming he's some form of orphan, but it's sad to say there's no telling where he came from. There's some instances of orphans being missing, but it's not like, it's not like there's a lot of effort being made by the capital and such, making sure that there's any proper paperwork being read up about them, so that if something like this happens, we can return them. Plus, it seems, given the scars, it seems as though he's been there for a while. After Julius leaves to go take care of some things, Asta wakes up, asking where is he, getting ready to fight. And when he sees Yami, Yami tells the kid to calm down, and that he's in the doctor's office getting treated. When he looks down at his body, he sees he's covered in bandages. And when he took a look underneath them, there's some ointment underneath. The doc said that he had some things to talk to Yami about, uh, and to stay in the room and rest. Yami and the doc left to discuss what exactly they should do with Asta, since they didn't, since orphans aren't prioritized to be thoroughly documented, in as well as considering that even a foreigner can end up with a clover grimoire like Yami, then they obviously are in an age where they don't keep a lot of paperwork on individuals and where they're from. So it's basically impossible to know where Asta came from, especially with his memories locked away to protect that his brain did to protect them. We can Though while they're out talking, a young girl with silver hair steps in, asking where's the doctor. This is Noelle, who came by to see the doctor to ask if there's any method or anything that could help her learn how to control her magic better. She's got, she asks who he is, and he says Asta. When she demands a family name, she says, I don't know if I have one. I don't know where I'm from. He takes a look at all the bandages around him and feels a little bit uncomfortable and sorry for him. And she says, "Well, I am Noelle Silva of the royal family Silva, and all that." Asta smiles a little bit, saying, "Really? You're lucky." He says, "What? Why?" "Well, you know where you're from, who you are, and you have a family. I don't know anything about my past." He asks, "Do you have amnesia?" He stated that he heard the doctor say something about that, though he doesn't know what it is. Tells him that it's a loss of memory. And he replied, "Yeah, that's probably it." Though he continues stating that, well, family isn't all it's cracked up to be. Mine treats me worse than anybody else. Even all the nobles look down on me because I can't control my magic. Oz then says, "But you came here to learn how to control your magic, which means you haven't given up, right?" He looks at him, thinking, well, he isn't wrong. Asa smirks, saying, and if you ask me, despite all that you say that your family and those other people say about you, you're way stronger than what they could possibly ever be. He blushes a little bit, and then they hear that the footsteps of and Yami and the doc talking, going back to his room. Noelle begins to panic and says, "Don't tell them I'm here," and crawls under and hides underneath the bed. Which, when the doctor steps in, he asks Asta to show him this transformation that Yami was telling him about. Asta gets off of the bed and walks to the doctor, showing him the transformation, with Noel being shocked, thinking he might have transformation magic, and Asta asking, "What exactly is this?" The doc says, "Well, it isn't magic. You don't have any magic at all. While I was examining you, I noticed that you don't even have a single drop of it. So whatever this is, I can't tell what. Though it seems to have markers of what I can only assume are human experimentation. The church would file for things for his missing, but they wouldn't say anything about the human experimentation, considering they might be worried that a noble or something might use him as some kind of tool or weapon. Considering the progression of their society where it is right now, that is a distinct possibility. They also say that multiple members of noble families were found in that place. It infuriates, and Yami is furiated, saying that he's furiated that he can't believe he found the kingdom's nobility in that place, watching some kid fight for his life, being pissed off. They discuss that they were thinking about sending him to another orphanage, but due to his abilities, it might be safer for him to go somewhere else, though they haven't figured it out yet. They they left to go talk to Julius, and Noel steps out, with Asta turning back, saying, "Yeah, kind of weird, huh? Well, at least I guess from what that man said." Noel says, "I'm sorry," as he goes to walk off, only being met with a loud voice yelling at her, asking, "Why are you here, you worthless piece of garbage?" Asta peeks out to see what's going on, and sees a young boy with silver hair yelling at Noel. This is Solid, off where Yami, Julius, and the doc are. They begin to talk about where uh, their Asta would go, until Yami's fed up and says he's coming with me to live at the Black Bull's hideout. Yam Julius states why. Yami says, "I'm the one who found him and saved him from that hellhole. And since we don't know where he's from, I'll be the one to take care of him. I'll take responsibility and watch him. Alright?" Julius accepted this, saying that he trusted Yami more than he would any noble or royal, knowing that some of them might just use him as a weapon. Back with where Asta is seeing Noel being bullied by Solid, Solid grabs onto one of Noel's pigtails and starts yanking it. Asta begins to get pissed and partially transforms, covering his arm, rushing over and punching Solid in the gut, sending him flying. The Yami, Julius, and the doc heard this, so Noel asked, "Why did you do that?" Asta said, I hate people like that who think they could just use others as, or even those who think others are worthless or nothing." He grips his fist in complete furiousness, looking back in the well, changing back to normal, saying, "Don't let people like that determine what you do." Not like he stopped, saying it in his mind, not like what those people made me do in that arena. Which when Yami shows up, seeing this scene with Asta helping Noel up, and seeing Solid passed out, he does know about Solid and his attitude toward his sister, and knowing that he's royalty, he just grabs Asta, runs, jumping out the window, yelling, "Finral, we need to get out of here now!" Asta says, "Wait, where are we going?" Yami tells him, "We're going to the Black Bull's hideout. You're staying with us, kid." He yells, "What?" And they hurry up and get there. The doc takes Solid and treats him, and Julius brings Noel back and axes Marks to erase the memory of what just happened from Solace so that it wouldn't be anything done about it. With Mark saying, "Wait, you called me here to deal with someone with amnesia. Why am I doing this now?" The doc chimed in and saying, "Oh, yes, I did. He called you here for that before talking to me. The boy suffered severe trauma, and it seems as though his memories were locked away as a method of making sure he didn't lose it, and possibly forcing those memories to be active could cause more harm than good, with his mind trying to defend himself from anyone interfering with his memories. So I would highly advise against it. Let it come naturally. It will come in time, but only if we let it." Julius wasn't happy, but he went with the doctor's advice and decided not to use his Mars memory magic to unlock Asta's memory, considering it could be dangerous. After that, Asta began to live at the Black Bull's hideout. Some of the other Black Bull members began to teach him some stuff, helping him practice with combat and everything. But Asta also found Henry, the Black Bull member who none of the other members but Yami know about. Since Asta doesn't have magic, he can get near him without much trouble. Ever since he found him, Asta's been bringing him food and help cleaning up his room, since he's having trouble moving on his own. He's brightened up Henry's days in the Black Bull's hideout a lot, since now he has someone to talk to. As the years go by, and in Hod's village over these years, they've been worried about Asta sick, and Yuno's been determined and training hard so that one day he could find Asta and bring him home. Though Yami always figured that maybe Asta was an orphan that was in the Forsaken realm, considering that there wasn't any paperwork on him. So he decides when it's time to get his grimoire that they went to the grimoire tower in the Forsaken realm, the same one as in canon. So they go there, they leave the head off for there. Yami not saying anything and secretly hoping that they hope to run into somebody that notices Asta. So Asta wearing a cloak just in case and putting it over his head. He has a lot longer hair than in canon, but there is that. And Yami wears a cloak too to hide his Black Bull's robe. Nor he could take it off, but he's the kind of guy who refuses to. So now they're off to the grimoire tower for Asta to get his grimoire, as well as hopefully find someone to help figure out where Asta came from. Now this is the end of this beginning part of the What If, which is part 0. I do hope that you liked it. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell for the future uploads, and hope you enjoyed. Also, remember to leave a comment down below, and see you later.